Right, everyone, I'm back. I'm not too busy today, so I found the time to make this one earlier. And yeah, I got one last Paradox Pokemon to look for. The shiny one, I mean. Here's what I have so far. I have Juggalis, Bundle, Hands, Thorns, Buff, and Valiant. Meaning I'm only missing Iron Treads now. Well, while I'm shiny hunting this one, I guess I can give my opinions on the routes featured in Scarlet and Violet. Just let it load. Alright, so the basic formula plot of a Pokemon game, it's divided into three aspects. The first is the Pokemon League Challenge, which is 8 gym leaders, the Elite Four, and the champion. Bog standard. The second is the Evil Team, represented here as Starfall Street. Although, I would put evil in this case in quotation marks. Because they don't really do anything. They're just repeat class cutters. I mean, they have their own reasons, which I'll explain later. And then the third part is the story of the legendary Pokemon. The one that's been a thing since Gen 3. That one is called The Path of Legends. On the nose. So, anyway. The first one is the Victory Road. It's actually named after the final dungeon that stands between a prospective champion and the Pokemon League challenge. In order to access Victory Road, you need 8 badges, but the entire thing is basically Victory Road. I don't know how many times I've said Victory Road within the last few seconds, but anyway. Previous Pokemon gyms were designed so that the challenges would somehow fit inside a tiny looking building. From bog standard ones of most regions to the really customized gyms seen in Unova. Black, white, black 2, white 2. Gyms weren't featured at all in Sun and Moon. They were more natural island challenges, which I think these gyms are based on. There's a separate area for doing the gym challenge, and then the dedicated arena for battling the gym leader. And like with Gen 7's Kahunas and Galar's gym leaders, these leaders use the game's gimmick, terrestrialization. Unfortunately, they were kind of shoehorned into using old Pokemon and then terrestrializing it into their type, instead of using a new Mon and then terrestrializing it into a completely different type. I feel the only one that really works with that is Iono, the electric type gym leader, the Poketuber. Her terrestrialized Pokemon is Miss Magus, which has Levitate and It's one of the smartest uses of terrestrialization, canceling out electric type's only immunity with only weakness with levitate. That's very smart. Why couldn't the other gyms be like that? The Elite Four doesn't have that problem, so why were the gym leaders forced to use old Pokemon for terrestrialization? Yeah, I get it. It's supposed to show that you don't have to change into a type you already have. You could just use something different. Let's see, what am I thinking? Oh yeah. The 8 types represented by the gyms are Bug, Grass, Electric, Water, Normal, Ghost, Psychic, and Ice. It's an odd combination. Definitely... Dark type got shafted again, even though it already had some representation in Galar. Come on, Treads. Oh yeah. There's no proper Victory Road dungeon, as I said. Instead, the replacement is a sparking interview, complete with a blank room and a chair. One of the Elite Four interviews you, and some questions you have to answer correctly, otherwise it's an automatic failure. The questions also include which gym you struggled with the most. You have to remember which town the gym was in, who the gym leader was, and their type specialty. Hope you were paying attention. As for the types used by the Elite Four, Ground, Steel, Flying, and Dragon. I think this is probably the... Oh no, all of them have been used already. Ground type, I believe, was a Gen 4 first. Steel type 6. Flying 7. And Dragon is a common one, being represented in Kanto, in Hoenn, and in Kalos Gen 6. The top champion herself, the big executive Gita, she doesn't have a type specialty, but her ace is Rock. And yeah, a lot of people were complaining that why didn't she use that Glimora as her lead? I mean, the toxic spikes will end up being a bother. And she had a King Gambit with Supreme Overlord, which would have been devastating since she uses a full party. Except she tends to send it out early. I agree. It's poorly organized, all because of the shoehorning of terrestrialization into the party. Probably would have made the game more difficult if Supreme Overlord was in play and toxic spikes became a problem. But hey, apparently kids don't want it to be too difficult. But the top champion isn't even the final boss of that campaign. Oh yeah, I'm looking for silver. I noticed when I looked, it's not just the tire black highlights that turn silver, even the flaps and the tusks turn silver. Fairly convenient, I guess. Oh yeah, where was I? Ah yeah. The final opponent in the Victory Road route is Your rival of a yandere of a rival Nemona. Yeah, around the third or fourth time she spoke, I think everyone agreed that she's a yandere, a stalker, really bloodthirsty, battle thirsty, I mean. With this lighting, I have to be extra careful. It looks silver from certain lightings. Oh yeah, the yandere rival. Not sure what her theme is supposed to be, but it's something. There isn't much story to go by, just beat the gyms, beat the champion, 2 champions this time. It's basically the foundation of the Pokemon game, besides catching it all. Which ironically is no longer possible, thanks to all that Dexit stuff. Alright, next. It's bog standard. The rival this time is a yandere or a stalker. That's a bottom. Alright, the other 2 routes. Those would have to be the Starfall Street Team Star. Basically, you have to fight a guard, do some let's go with inside each of the 5 bases, and take on each of the Team Star bosses. The types for the 5 are Dark, Fire, Poison, Fairy, and Fighting, from weakest to strongest. And one thing that's unfortunate, the whole base raid doesn't get any more difficult. From the first to the end, it's all beat 30 Pokemon in 10 minutes. Would have been more fun if, as you go through each base, either the time limit decreases or you have to fight more enemies. Like, possibly 50 in 10 or 30 in 5. And since the whole raid battling is based on the Let's Go mechanic, except you send out 3 Pokemon instead of just 1, but it made things more interesting. And it's a shame too, because the base raiding theme is actually pretty lit, pretty good. Actually, all of Team Star's songs are really solid. I guess that's what happens when one of your Team Star bosses happens to be a DJ. So going back, the gym challenge badges increased your level of obedience, and I think it makes catching Pokemon a bit easier for that specific level threshold. While with Team Star, defeating each of the bosses rewards materials, league points, and TM recipes. Forgot to mention the TMs. They're back to single use. After Gen 5 to 7, made the TMs infinite use. Gen 8 tried balancing it with a combination of the infinite use TMs and the single use technical records. But here it's back to single use TMs, but you can basically craft however many you wish, so long as you have enough materials and league points. Anyway, back to Starfall. Yeah. Actually, how Team Storm was... Team Storm? Army? Really? How Team Star was formed? It could potentially happen in real life. It's basically bully's revenge. The revenge of the bullied. And then the bullied became seen as bullies instead. It's a bit sad and a bit ironic at the same time. When Team Star's boss is one of the characters you meet, and she uses an evolution team. And there is a stark contrast between such a cutesy theme and her theme song that goes really hard. I mean, gotta give the DJ some credit. He didn't know what his boss looked like, but gave them this powerful sounding theme. On a side note, yeah, all of Team Star's themes are really powerful. It's a bit more electronic, and there's a lot of electric guitar tossed in. Might be synthesizer though, but anyway. Definitely somewhere in the middle. And then the legendary plot, the Path of Legends. Basically, hunt down 5 Pokemon, grab their stash of magic herbs, and give them to the hook friend. We'll turn it into his secret spice mix for Aldea Fried Combustion, I guess. And just kidding. It's not that. The 5 remaining types are represented: Rock, Flying, Steel, Ground, and Dragon. The gym badges control obedience. The Team Star thing rewards TM stuff. This one has a more... The Herba Mystica have a more profound effect. It basically powers up your legendary mount, Koraidon and Miraidon. The abilities are dashing, a higher jump, this versus this, swimming, gliding, and the last one is climbing. The dash comes from the Rock Titan. The swimming comes from the Flying type Titan. The high jump from Steel. Gliding from Ground. And the climbing from the Dragon. Two particular... Is this what I think it is? Yes! Perfect. Forgot to change out put false swipe back in. Fine. Alright. A lot less painful than last time. I'm surprised I noticed that so easily. I think I'll try shiny hunting something else now, since I still have about 10 minutes for my sandwich. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. There are the latter 2 Titan battles, Ground and Dragon. They stand out among the 5 for their own reasons. Am I going? Don't know which one I want to hunt right now. Alright, where was I? Ah, yes. The ground type Titan. It changes depending on the version, but both of them are the same. The Roaring Quake Titan is Paradox Dawnfen. Speaking of, in Scarlet, what shows up is the ground fighting type Great Tusk. I mentioned its Mastodon-like character. Wait, what? Where did you come from? Anyway, ground fighting type. While Violet gets the Iron Treads that I was dealing with a while ago. Both of them are ground types, so they share the same spot. While the Dragon type Titan is actually a two-parter. For the first, and I forgot to mention how Titan battles work. First time you have to fight it alone, and then you have to track it down to the herb, to where the Titan hides its Herba Mystica stash. And then the chef guy Arvin joins you with his own Pokemon, of course. I think it's always tailored to deal with whatever Titan is being fought. I don't know if the Titan gets a stat boost from the Herba Mystica, similar to how the totems in Sun and Moon have their buffs. Again, never really noticed. As for... Oh yeah, the Dragon type Titan. There are 3 battles instead of 2. The first one is... The first 2 are against a Dondozo, the big catfish. It's a pure water type though, so I guess that explains the whole false dragon moniker. And then the third phase is against the actual Titan, Tatsugiri. If you wanna know, Tatsugiri is the sushi dragon. More dragon than a Charizard. How embarrassing. And you get out-dragoned by sushi. It's even more embarrassing than getting out-dragoned by a slug. Anyway, now I'm going into spoilers for Path of Legends because it's the one I ended up getting personally invested in. Arvin's collecting the Herba Mystica to heal his previously wounded Mabostiff. The wounds are so bad that even a Pokemon Center won't be enough. And with each Herba Mystica, the Mabostiff gets better slowly. After getting the final Herba, there was this huge fake out that maybe the Herbas couldn't work in the end and that the Mabostiff would die. But I'm glad that it survived and is willing to and is ready to battle, pretty much. The last fight of the Path of Legends is against Arvin himself. You actually battle him first, shortly after defending the motorbike legendary. And he uses all of the Pokemon. He used what during the Titan battles. And his ace is of course Mabostiff. It's probably one of the top 3, but I kinda do wish the Titans were a bit more involved. I mean, you have this entire... You have all these vast areas of exploration. You could make it They could have made it a Monster Hunter style tracking, where you had to go from different areas until eventually cornering them at their Herba Mystica lair. You chip away at their health, they retreat at certain thresholds, and then again when they're cornered, they go all out finally. But I'm not the designer. But I think that's food for thought. And if you're wondering, shiny Tinkatuffs. Tinkatinks. I keep forgetting Tinkatink. I always jump straight to Tinkatuff. But anyway, all this talk about the roots. I forgot to mention one thing. There's no level scaling. I mentioned how the Team Star bases could be improved by changing stuff like the time limit or the number of enemies to defeat. That one, along with the gym leaders, would have certainly helped from level scaling. With the bases, you're taking down their security one by one. It would make more sense for them to step up their security instead of just having them at set levels. For us with the gym challenge, I believe one of the spin-offs acknowledged that some people might want to take on certain gyms in different order. And the gym leaders apparently change up their team depending on how many badges the challenger has. I believe the spin-off was Pokemon Origins, an animation that has elements from both Gen 1 and the then upcoming Gen 6. Showcasing a Mega Evolution for seemingly the first time. Anyway, back to the level scaling thing. The gyms and the Team Star bases at least should have had that. Uh-oh. Double save. And then I think that's all the 3 routes. Oh wait! All the routes end at the Great Paldean Crater. And that's where the way home comes in. The very thing that ties all 3 routes together. Basically, you have to defy the Academy's rule, not entering the Area 0. At some point, that rule might as well be Pokemon's equivalent to Harry Potter's "The Dark Forest is forbidden, and all who enter it shall die painfully." That is the whole Area 0 shtick. You enter the crater, and one interesting thing is that you have 3 other buddies with you, and no legendary. Apparently something scared them off in that area, so while you're there, they refuse to come out of their Pokeball. And there's some characterization for some of the others. Arvin's kind of worried and bothered at the same time about his professor parent. One parent became so stuck up with their research and the other just effed. And it's a proper introduction to the Paradox Pokemon. The final boss basically uses an entire team of them. This applies to both prehistoric paradoxes of Scarlet and the future paradoxes of Violet. The final boss will use a team comprised entirely of paradoxes, and their ace is the slightly more powerful paradox, and it is always equipped with a booster energy to give the Pokemon an attack boost. And the final boss, it basically concludes the character arc of the legendary. Too scared to even enter their battle mode, slowly regaining their abilities over time, culminating in basically regaining its will to fight. It's kind of heartwarming in a sense, and it's a fantastic send-off. It even makes use of the terrestrialization mechanic. That battle involving the legendary is scripted as far as I know, and your legendary is fully affectionate, so it will always tank a powerful hit during that battle. When I was recording that final portion, I had to cut off the credits theme. Ed Sheeran's Celestial, by the way. Just in case I might get copyright struck. Then again, when I was doing Nier, didn't really have any problems, even though the soundtrack was practically completely copyrighted. They didn't mind. Better to be safe than to be sorry. The Master Ball is a post-game thing. 5-star raids are a post-game thing. And there's also the school tournament. What am I doing? It's already expired. I might do some other raids while discussing the post-game. But the post-game is basically catching all of the Paradox Pokemon, getting the second copy of the legendary. That's a spoiler right there. Trading at the opposite version to get the other legendary. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting to mention the school tournament. So yeah. And I also forgot to mention that, unlike with the other games, the Elite Four and the Champion can only be fought once. It's a series first because before then, we're free to challenge the Elite Four and the Champion how many times you want. There's even Sword and Shield, which is more of a tournament in its own right. You basically hold exhibition tournaments. Train of thought, where are you? Oh yeah. Unlocking that school tournament requires rematching all of the gym leaders. And the excuse is, well, Tita's too busy inspecting the gym, so we're filling in for her instead, so she has the time to actually participate. The gym rematches don't feel too different from when they were first fought. I mean, most of them can still be soloed with a Pokemon of the right type. Iono's still the exception thanks to her Kilowattrel and Levitating Mismagius. Another exception I'll add now is the normal type gym leader, Larry. He's a fan favorite because he's the normal type gym leader. Yet he also has the triple shift, with his other jobs being a salaryman and of all things, the flying type Elite Four member. Yeah. First time a major character has 2 type specializations instead of just one. Well, I forget there was that kid in Sword and Shield who used primarily psychic types but was forced into becoming the fairy type gym leader. Anyway, where was I? Larry. Because he uses normal types, he tosses in some normal flying types to deter fighting. Doesn't work too well, of course. But my Quackable actually almost got KO'd by Braviary. In terms of the presentation though, I'd have to say my favorite gym leaders would be Iono because again, Poke VTuber and actually smart tactics. Her gym challenge is basically joining a stream. Next would be Rhyme. Because for some reason... Hold on. Because for some reason, Rhyme's gym is the only place in Paldea with double battles. You survived that. Anyway, Rhyme's gym, the gym in Monte Nevera, for some reason it's the only place with double battles. Outside of competitive formats, of course. No, the Titan battles I don't count as double battles. It's 2-on-1. Same goes for all the mandatory encounters in Area 0. Those are 2-on-1. There's a difference. Rhyme's gym had the best presentation and the double battles. Larry is relatable. Iona was fun. Anyway, after completing the Ace Tournament, I have to do a couple of 5-star raids in order to unlock what is probably the main post-game, the 6-star raids. Only one shows up per day, but thanks to the whole Pokeportal shtick, one can battle in as many 6-star battles as possible. And there is really good reason to fight in these kinds of battles. For one, the Pokemon obtainable are really powerful and can potentially have their hidden abilities. And the other reason is the Herba Mystica. You need a couple of Herba Mystica in order to get the ability to basically shiny hunt. The shiny charm is also effectively post-game, since you need the Paradox Pokemon unlocked. And of course, there's the whole trading thing. And not just trading for stuff like starters and version exclusives, because they brought back the trade evolutions. I mean, Gengar is a non-issue because you can just trade for one in Evincia. But the other two are those item-related trade evolutions. If you want to get them other way, you have to get lucky with a 5 or 6 star raid. That's what happened to me. And if I see one of those, I let a group join in, so that just in case someone needs either of those Pokemon as well. You survived that too? Well, I guess it's defensive. And another thing about the raids, you need to do a lot of raids for the Terra Shards. The things that enable type changing. If I recall, you need 50 of the shards, and each raid can give up to only 5 or 6. 2 to 6. For this 4 star, I got... This one seems lucky. But yeah, you need 50. I guess considering how potent a well-timed type change can be, I can kind of understand why you'd need a lot of shards, but maybe it would have been better if it was something like 30 instead of 50. I feel that some types are inherently easier to grind for Terra Shards. Those are the ones, I believe, with types that are weak to the various life-draining attacks. So stuff like Drain Punch, Parabolic Charge, Draining Kiss, those are the ones I would consider the easier set because of survivability. I mean, it's completely possible to win without those. Just look at all the belly drummers drumming around. But I already gave my reasons for relying on survivability. I guess I can go online now. I already have all of the shiny paradoxes, I believe. Let me double check. Let's see. First one I shiny hunted was Iron Valiant. I'll show. This again, I mentioned this is one of those subtle shinies. It works quite well. Iron Bundles is also readily visible. Iron Hands I thought would be terrible, and then I saw the Silver Pants. Still, would have been better if the glowing cheese panels were made a different color. Yes, I know it's electrical energy. And now that I'm looking at Iron Hands, it's actually a fun looking design. And the lore that was given was that It was basically an athlete rebuilt into this cyborg. Now to my favorite of the bunch, Iron Thorns. It works so well, all the chrome replacing the green. And the glowing green bits that remain really add the splash of color. And going from the best to the worst, Iron Moth. In the lighting of Area Zero, it is really hard to identify it because its light blue abdomen looked chrome in certain lightings. So I had to rely on looking at its antennae. Iron Jugulis is... Actually, these last two have the same problem of disability issues. Again, lighting issues. And it's the same black to chrome. Would have been more fun if Jugulis's LEDs would change colors. But I'm still under the conspiracy theory that whoever designed the Future Paradox Shinies was a big fan of SB129. The SpongeBob episode where the future is shown to be chrome. Everything is chrome in the future! Hell, for Jugulis, even the making its blue lights green would have made it a bit better. Also, would have been fun if the pinks were turned something like gold. I'm surprised none of the future paradoxes had some kind of gold. Make them a bit blingy. This one was also bad. But the coloring reminds me of the Unicorn Gundam for some reason. And I also ended up getting a couple other shinies. This was the first one I got. So, just there while I was climbing. I don't know what I was climbing for. Maybe I was looking for the legendary stakes. Stakes as in the thing you impale something with, not the meat. This one randomly showed up while I was looking around the water areas of Area Zero. King Gambit was the first shiny I ever got using the sandwich shiny hunting method. An excellent shiny to start off with. And now that I'm looking at it more carefully, I mentioned the gold. I was kinda mistaken. The gold is already on King Gambit from the start. Still, the change from red to blue is really good. Would have been funnier if its mustache also had its red turn to blue. But anyway, phenomenal shiny. This one is bad. It was just desaturated. Still noticed it immediately, I guess. Next is this Pawmot. Caught it as a Pawmi in Area Zero. I don't think I had a sandwich boost. Or maybe it was the wrong sandwich. Somehow showed up. Really nice pink. I don't know why Rosette with the E at the end is considered a bad word. But since this Pawmot is a guy, wouldn't have worked anyway. I have to remind myself to evolve this one. This one's also an excellent shiny. Really stands out. All of the colors change and blend really well. And this one, got it as a Shinx. I think it was a few minutes after getting Iron Thorns, but I got it as Shinx and evolved it straight away. Another good shiny that stands out. And I was able to get the shiny charm. Not much issue in the end. There's a Korean guy who was... I was only gonna trade one of the paradoxes, but he was like, nah fam, let's trade each other's paradoxes instead. Really good idea. If I could read Hangul, I would thank him. And yeah, quick balls are broken. As for the legendaries, each one has 8 stealing spikes scattered around a particular quadrant. You pull them out, whether accidentally or not. You battle these. Each one has an aura that debuffs the entire area. Relevant in a double battle, by the way. All of them have dark typings as well as the move Ruination. It's basically Super Fang. Cuts the enemy's HP in half. Ruination works pretty well for the defensive Wo-Chien and Ting Lu. But for the aggressive Chien Pao and Chi Yu, you're better off using a different dark type move altogether. This annoying slug gave me the most trouble. Giga Drain was a life drain. Its foul play caught me off guard, taking out Bridget in one hit. And I think in my video list, it's the only one of the 4 to reach the 10-minute mark. Hell, the 15-minute mark. Really annoying, and I ended up overstocking on Ultra Balls and Timer Balls. I mean, I'm making good use of the Timer Balls, since some of the paradoxes are rather stubborn. Chain Pow. I was really afraid of this one. Its Dark Ice typing is really good for offense. It has Sacred Sword, which is a really powerful fighting type move. Its ability drops defense, and it's attack oriented. I was scared. Even if I sent Bridget, it would probably be taken out by Sucker Punch. Oh, I thought it was gonna be Throat Chop. Ruination's still a problem though. Ting Lu. Knocked it out the first time. Hard resetted to get the footage. Not too much trouble. I just had to switch allying tactics. Normally I would use my Kilowattrel Impundulu to do the Thunder Wave. But since this is a ground type, I had to use Kikurage with its Stun Spore. For legendary battles, I believe Paralysis is better. Unlike Sleep, it doesn't go away. I mean, yeah, sure. If it get... Well, yeah, sure, Sleep does provide a better patch bonus than Paralysis, but it goes away. Versus Paralysis only kicking in every now and then, but it stays on. Anyway, this is the one that had Throat Chop. I am misremembering. And as for Chi-Yu, not too bad. I don't know why its cavern is filled with Noivern. besides them being annoying. Of the four, this one had the second second highest resistance to capture. But again, a good mix of paralysis and flash fire negated some of the potential problems. She used the special equivalent of Chin Pao, by the way. So its Beads of Ruin provides the special defense drop aura. I am still curious about if Zygarde's Aura Break would reverse the Ruinous abilities. And also Photosynthesis and Quark Drive. Those don't show up on the status screen, it's more of an aura. I think... Oh yeah. Now that I'm here, these five are the Titan Pokemon. Well, the former Titans. As shown by this mark. And this gives a good indication of what their levels are. I mentioned how the whole level scaling thing. And I think with the Titan Pokemon, perfectly fine if they don't have the level scaling. Just to show how powerful they are relative to each other. Tatsugiri, and by extension, Dondozo, pack the biggest punch. Dondozo is the physical attacker and the pure water type, while Tatsugiri is the actual Dragon Titan, just using Dondozo for its own use, for its own purposes. I'm running out of things to say, and running out of things to do. I have brought up how I intend to do a surprise trade fest over Christmas. I am still debating whether or not I want to send away Quaxleys or send away Iron Bundles. I might end up doing both. Just gonna heal up. I might continue shiny hunting off screen. No, I want to talk to the clerk. Oh yeah, there's bulk selling. Press the plus button in order to get to it. Still have to go through each item one by one, but it's all sold at once. Technical Machine. When its name was first introduced, I was thinking of ATM Machine. I wouldn't be surprised if there were still English speakers who say ATM Machine, even though it's clearly an automated teller machine. Oh, am I missing? Just gonna check if I have every TM. Anyway, I'm I was talking about the spoilers this entire time. I'm glad all of the types are represented in this game, unlike in every other game where only a fraction of them get a voice. Or maybe it's more to say, some of the types get shafted. Alright, that's all of the TMs. As of now, I don't know if the DLC will provide new new TMs. Speaking of DLC, I kind of want to show the Violet book. I did mention I was gonna point out some things. I'm done with the book, I'm going to end the stream. Alright, so the DLC. First, a view of the map. The Great Crater is unmapped because of security reasons, and partly because letting the Paradox Pokemon roam free would be a massive problem. I mean, one did eventually get away, but... And we the players are just letting them out willy-willy. I guess the Pokemon curbs their destructive nature. This area is probably gonna be really large. I don't know if there will be a new area of the map to factor in. The map might expand, but a lot of people are saying it's gonna be Kalos. It's gonna be Kalos. The copium is real. I mean, yeah, Kalos got shafted. I can fully understand why you'd want an expansion focusing on Kalos. But for me, we'll see what happens. This whole border area, there's rocky cliffs blocking it off. And these cliffs are uniquely unclimbable. Once the DLC is released, I guess, they'll remove the cliffs. But anyway, another copy of the Violet book. When I first saw this drawing of Area Zero, I honestly thought Violet would get this technological nightmare similar to Xenoblade Chronicles 2's World Tree. But what we got is still as mysterious and ominous as I wanted. And more importantly, no, I'm looking for the monsters. Yeah. How are the Paradox Pokemon supposed to be brought in by the time machine when people from the ancient times were already coming up with these? Treads of Iron. The Paradox Donphan is the only one that's that has lore, proper lore. And I get the feeling that there are a bunch of glyphs in Area Zero that seemingly have no meaning. The Iron Valiant or Roaring Moon Room has a bunch of ritual circles, I believe. People are saying it's related to the stealing Pokemon, but I don't think that's the case. There are two things I want to bring up. In Scarlet, the imagined Pokemon resembles the Johtoonian legendary beasts. But this one is the Unovian legendary trio. And unlike Iron Treads, there doesn't seem to be any mechanical bits. Doesn't look robotic at all. Would be interesting if there was some kind of reversal. Scarlet gets a robotic one while Violet gets the monstrous one. I don't think that's gonna happen, but apparently there's also data mine information that the paradoxes are Suicune for Scarlet and Virizion for Violet. And the biggest reason for the DLC, well, separated from the research team in the crater's depths, I found a strange entity. Whether it was a Pokemon or even live at all, it bore us with layers of overlapping hexagons and right then stone. As a whole, it rests a mysterious giant disc. The current theory is whatever this Pokemon is, whatever it is, it's the source of the terrestrialization. Is it really disc? Or is it an orb? And I also get the feeling that the Paradox Pokemon actually come from this thing. This is one thing that people are hoping from the DLC. Will we actually get to fight this thing? Let alone catch it. And I've been talking a few times about how the Paradox Pokemons are potentially imaginary. I guess this is why. During our exploration of Area Zero's depths, I, Heath, strayed from the team and was later found unconscious. When awoken, I could only recall speaking with someone in an unfamiliar place, as if in a dream. I was found holding the page shown here. The handwriting is my own, but I have no memory of writing this. So there's a chance that the disc thing draws from people's minds, influences them. Probably a trance-like state. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what the DLC will bring, even if it's only one large wave. Knowing DLC trends though, they'll definitely do 2 or 3. I mean, Sword and Shield had 2 waves. I wouldn't be surprised if these games did the same. One wave could be the new area, and the other one would be solving Area Zero's mysteries. Because there's a lot in Area Zero. I'm here. I'll actually end by reading the journals in the research stations. We've determined that this energy crystallization is linked to the being we call the interlocking hexagonal plates that comprise shell must somehow cause this phenomenon. Have done terrestrializing. And further backing my theory. No. Thanks to my prototype Terra Orb, I secured corporate funding for my research and made a laboratory in the lighthouse near Cabo Poco. Someday, though, I'll return to the crater and resume my study of these crystals. Yeah, that legendary Pokemon is the source of terrestrialization. And the professor basically built it, but it's not his. At last, I can resume work on the Terra project. I'll move my research to the Zero Lab this month. My team will be smaller, but no matter. The strong influence of the crystals makes our experiments much more unstable. Wait. Why would you want to go do your research in a more unstable place? Is the convenience of having all of your test subjects nearby better than the potential of an explosion or something bad happening? The crystal's power is tremendous! Their unstable output made our corporate backers fret. But if we can harness this energy, it will open up research possibilities we'd only dreamed of. At last, paradise will be ours to create. This place... Oh yeah. I've successfully brought more and more future Pokemon to our time since the first one. I'm so close to creating a world like the one in the book. A paradise where we three can live together forever. Oh, it's out of order. Our time machine research has yielded a triumph! A Pokemon from the distant future! I've named it Miraidon. I was expecting one new life to treasure. But what fortune to be blessed with this gift as well. Deep down, the professor really cared about Arven. Anyway, back to this. I've successfully brought more and more future Pokemon to our time since the first one. I'm so close to creating a world like the one in the book. A paradise where we three can live happily together forever. I must make it real. When I was looking at this the first time, I thought the three was the professor, Arven, and the motorbike. There's also the possibility that the third one is the other parent. If I recall, the final station only has one. Oh no, this one also has two. I need more people. More time. Woman walked out not long after the boy was born. I need another set of hands. But could they be trusted? And how long would it take them to even understand? If only there were two of me. Another sign that the professor made an AI clone. My new assistant has intellect and technical skills to rival my own. A bit rigid at times, but I've got no serious complaints. Productivity has doubled. We even brought in a second Miraidon via the machine, though this one has proved aggressive. Actually, I kind of lied when I said those journals would be the last thing. There's one other thing I want to show. Yep. Back down the cavern, which I so love. can see just how diverse the Pokemon here are. Glimmet and Glimora. Apparently they originate here in Area Zero. And everywhere else on Paldea, Glimmet is incredibly difficult to find. But here, they're more... They're just as common as the Garganacles. Funny thing, whenever I say the middle stage of Nacli's evolution, it always has some kind of thick accent, like it's Ackelstock. It slips into a German accent, Ackelstock. I don't know why. And the final evolved form is Garganacle. Knuckle is the verbalization of sodium chloride, by the way. Glimora. Toxic debris is a neat ability, but in order to get full use of it, you need to have the spike set up on turn 1, one of the earlier turns. That is one problem with Vita's approach. She basically has it as her ace. Hang on, there's something written here. In order to better defend the Zero Lab, I have developed what I call the Pokeball Lock system. Once it has identified IDs associated with specific Pokeballs, it can... The rest of it is too faded to make out. How long ago was that written? Research documents... Oh, it's Arvin and Aschiff. Undoubtedly crystals. So since Turo or Sada are... This is heavy spoiler territory, by the way. Since Turo and Sada are dead, and their AI copy is also dead, would that stop production of the Terra Orb? Although, every faculty member has one, the top champion has one, the Elite Four has one, gym leaders have one each, Emona Yandere definitely has one. Arvin probably got his from his familial relations. Penny, Team Star's Cassiopeia has one. Don't know how she got that one. She's the outlier. Everyone else, I can understand. There it is. The so-called time machine. The final battle was actually really impressive. And quite a twist as well. You have a less than moral professor. You have all the paradox Pokemon. That final battle between the two legendaries was actually an emotional high point. And the place itself is rather mesmerizing of the crystals. There's also a lot of... Notice a lot of hexagons now. Is this thing really a time machine? Or is it something that realizes dreams and imagination? Who knows? I'm here because I was curious about what the DLC would bring. What it could potentially be. I'm one of those who hopes that whatever Dreamweaver, Heath, and Turo and Sada encountered, it will be fun to fight it. Would be really surprised if it did some funny stuff like changing its type in the middle of a battle multiple times. I mean, other RPGs do that all the time, barrier changing. Or it could force a Terra-style Pokemon out of the Terastallization. It would make sense for something real, the originator of that power, to be able to take back the power. But for now, see you on Christmas.